Welcome. I think everything's working. So, yeah, let me just begin. This is a very quick live stream. So, we're just gonna create the image that you saw, which is like the bed, two beds sitting together in the tree, and then you have the backdrop whereby you have the sun. And yeah, currently this is the sun in the background. So for now it's just blocking out the main features. We're not really specific about how it looks, just knowing where each item is located. So that will be the sun in the background. So like now we need to put in the branch. Even with the branch, just like for now it's free flowing, you can make it anything that you want, but you must put it in the right position, or at least in a place where like it looks better. And it's just mainly just composing the picture itself, or the illustration. So I'm just drawing one of the other branches now. So it's still, since I know that I'm gonna be using Illustrator afterwards, so in Illustrator you can almost override or change the lines. So that's why I'm always like not specific. I just want an overall idea of what I want. So so far, like, I'm happy with what I see, and I'm just gonna make sure that I do the other parts as well. For me, I always start with light lines, and then I go and do heavy lines afterwards. So that's why you see like some dark sections and some light sections. If I'm not sure about something, it's always the light section. So since you in the image itself, you have two beds in the middle. So that would be like, this is the first bed. And also still here, I'm just also thinking about the framing, like the size of the bed. Is it fine? Should I do something bigger? The best part about using Photoshop for this section is that you are able to sort of like scale. If you lasso select everything, you can actually rescale it or make it bigger or make it smaller, whichever you want. And I think that's a feature of like an editing software like Photoshop. If you're doing it in pen and paper, you can't really do that. Yeah, but then so far I love the way it's composed. And you have the male bed and you have the female bed. The male bed tends to be bigger compared to the female bed, and the branch itself is not too thin and you're also not too thick. But you will still need more branches though to make it seem like a proper tree. So yeah, I think so far it's looking good. And also I'm using very hard lines in there because I know that I won't erase it, or at least I'm sure about like that part. I want something like that. And one thing which you should do with these drawings is to use reference. Using reference is just using images of real items, like a branch, the sun, a background, just to see how it looks in nature, and then try to mimic something similar to that, or exactly that. And yeah, so I'm trying to illustrate how to draw a branch with spikes. And yeah, it's so far it's not looking very branchy, but then it will. So I tend to also just look in the picture right now. I don't have the reference, but then I'm also like using a reference for the illustrations, just to see how everything looks. So then I have to draw the spike. So one part I wish I maximize about Photoshop is the ability to use layers, because previously the sun was sort of like smaller, so now I'm thinking that something big would work, and also sort of like put it somehow like upper. So I'm just increasing the size of the artboard so that I can maximize the workspace. So looking good. I tried to make illustrations which are 1080 by 1080, meaning they are square, because it gives like it saves a lot of time, because I mean if you're gonna draw a full portrait illustration, you have all those other bits that you have to illustrate. So and it tends to take a lot of time, so I tend to not go for that. I stick with smaller artboards, and a square most of the time is just ideal for me. So it's just like you can just put everything inside. Yeah, I think maybe as time goes I can use bigger artboards. Yeah, but for now this is fine for me. So yeah, I'm just drawing another bit of the branch itself. It's another section, and even with it I'm setting light and just setting light and then going heavy as I see, right? But still I feel like there's still few branches in there, so I might add a bit more in this scene. And if there's something I don't like, always just erase. It's that simple. Yeah, because I mean, since I'm using very light lines, some lines end up not fitting what I want, so I can just erase those ones. And yeah, and that's looking better. I mean, I could have just illustrated over that bit which I didn't like, since I used light lines, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah. One thing which I think I like about this picture is that already you can see the silhouette or the outline of whatever is happening. So I think that's one thing which is nice. Then I'm talking about that feature, so I was talking about you just lasso an item and then you can just like change it as you want, because at the moment I don't like the angle at which like the branches, the position and the angle. So I think something lower works. So yeah, that's better. Then just position that one accordingly. So yeah, that works. And one thing which I like about that fish is that you can also just duplicate that branch. So you can make one branch and then duplicate it and lasso it to break it up into other bits, and then from there you can just place it whichever way you want and it will still work. Best thing about Photoshop, I guess. I mean, you can use other software to do this thing. For example, I know GIMP is one of the other software which is similar to Photoshop. You can actually do a lot of things that you can do in Photoshop there, and they still look better, even good or better than Photoshop sometimes. That's one other software that you can use. I know there are also like alternatives online. One which I've used recently is called Pixlr, like Pixel, but then with an R. Pixlr. It's also like another free Photoshop online software thing. So you can use that to actually do your Photoshop work. Yeah, and best part about that one is it is online, so you can take it anywhere. Yeah, so I'm just going over the branch using the spikes, making sure that it's starting like it's looking like a branch, you can say. Yeah, so since like now I know since I know the main, I have the like I've blocked out the main sections, so I can actually use heavy strokes, because I know where each item or which line goes. And yeah, because since I'm gonna take this to Illustrator, it's best that I just block out everything, and I'll just use simple lines there to mask if something is wrong. Another thing which works in terms of like when you're doing this sketches, just think about the colors as well, isn't how each item is going to look, and does placing an item where you place it going to add to the overall look of the image or of the illustration. Yeah, so earlier I was talking about the silhouette, isn't one thing about this picture is that since it's going to be the sun in the background, it's best that I put items which are instantly recognizable. So like for example beds, like if you put beds there and then there's the sun, there's the light from the sun, you can actually have like very beautiful dark silhouette of the beds, and then you can highlight them in whatever way you want. For example, I am going to use I think I'm going to use just to highlight the chest region. I'm gonna use an orange gradient. So I think the black silhouette of the beds and the orange gradient is going to work nicely. So yeah. So now I'm just going over the beds again with a much harder stroke, and looking good so far. So we get the details of the peaks and where the chest starts and ends. Yeah, but then since it's all going to be filled in with a black fill, so I'm not really worried about the inside. So yes, that's one thing about the Photoshop feel. It always leaves a gap between the outline and the actual center bit. So just go over with the pen one more, and then we done with the sketch. So now just to take it to Illustrator and then go over it with Illustrator. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm just cleaning up now to make sure everything looks good. just made the background, the sun, to be circular, just using the lines. Doesn't really matter, because I mean, if we're gonna use a stroke in Photoshop, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just trying to find the right balance as to what looks nice, and this is good so far. So we can actually use this image. So jumping over to Illustrator now. So this is an Illustrator, just importing the image. It's quite small there. So even here now you just have to go over the illustration using the lines, using the pen tool. And then with this one you can just block out all the bits that you want, but also still try to follow the outline of the sketch itself, and then just go over it using a pen, and I'm a bit rough with it, so it's just I'm just following and the pen. One thing I like about the pen is that they can actually go edit the lines afterwards. So if there's a curve that you missed, you can actually, when you're done, use Shift C, which activate that curve section, and then you can actually move it whatever way you want. So now I'm just blocking in the tree. And then from here on, it's just like you're just gonna block in everything until it looks the way you want it to look. Yeah, but then just like using the pen tool to just go over all the sections. So one thing which I did right now is just to decrease the opacity of the image until like we can actually see our pen properly. So that's one thing which I did right now. So, well, I mean, if you going to use 100% opacity, is actually going to blind yourself, as in like you won't see the lines. So which was something which was happening. So I think it's good so far, and I used a fill of black automatically with no stroke for the pen. So this means then whenever I illustrate, there's that fill which is occurring, and the best part is that now I can actually see where I need to put in the pen, because I mean I decrease the opacity and also I put it on top, so I will always see the outline and I can just go over that easily. Then from here it's just like you just have to follow the outlines and make sure that everything makes sense, and yeah. So now it's time to add the sun. So it's still following that outline, then you just put in the sun in the background, and also so I just tend to lock other layers which I don't use, and from there you just can play around with how the size, and then make sure that it's something that you want. And then after that you can actually change the color even now. So because we're using a fill, so we can just quickly just go there and change the color. And then from here I'm just going to try and play a bit about with how everything looks. So one thing which is missing now is the sky. So just gonna put in a rectangle for that, and also just gonna change the color. Obviously at the end we're still gonna play around with the color because I want something a bit blue, but then or something orange. Yeah. One thing which I need to do now is the heart section for the beds or the centerpiece. So I'll have to do that as well. So that will be in a different layer. I just have to positioning the sun till it looks about right. And then afterwards I'll lock the layer, and then lock every layer which I don't use, just lock it. So that now I'm creating that center the chest section. So I'll just do that in a new layer. I'll place a gradient afterwards, so it kind of like blends with the background.
Bye.